much for joining us here at the RockPointe Virtual Campus. We're so glad you're here this morning. My name's Morgan Tuttle. I'm on staff here at RockPointe, and if you don't already know, we're in the mission of helping people heal from life's hurts. We have so much going on almost all the time here at RockPointe. You can stay in the know by visiting rockpointechurch.com. Also follow us on social media. We're on both Facebook and Instagram, and we try and update regularly. If you're new here, welcome. We hope that you'll text WELCOME to 512-710-2323 because we want to get connected with you. If for some reason you're needing prayer, we definitely want to help you with that. As a staff, we gather every Monday to cover you in prayer. We revisit all of those requests. You can send your request in online, or you can text prayer to 512-710-2323. We have an awesome service ahead. We're so glad you're here. We look forward to connecting with you. Have a great day.
This is for the lost and lonely, for the broken and afraid. This is for those who are hurting, hoping help is on the way. In this battle of addiction, chasing after me, while singing now, whatever trouble I am facing, I will lift my hands and say, right now we sing this together. I believe in miracle power, in the wonder-working God. I'm filled with the Holy Spirit, working wonders in my heart. I belong to a loving Father. I'm a friend of Christ. When it feels like I won't make it, I call on Jesus. Sometimes it's so hard Well, how y'all doing this morning? Anybody grow up in the country? My country folk, yep. East Texas right here. Well, this next song is a new song, and it's like riding a bull and trying to hang on, all right? So y'all, I want y'all to have a lot of empathy this morning for the drummer because he's about to get a severe workout, all right? So here we go, let's play it. It's called I Thank God. love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up till I lay my head, I will sing the goodness of God. All my life, all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. Every breath that I am made, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You led me through the fire in darkest nights. You were close like no other. I've known you as a father. Yeah, I've known you as my friend. I have lived in the goodness of God. Sing all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am, I'm gonna sing it. Oh, I will sing the goodness of God. Come on, we sing your goodness. Your goodness is running out. It's running after me. Your goodness is running out. It's running after me. I see with my life laid down. I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running out. Come on, say it again. Your goodness. Your goodness is running out to me. Your goodness is running out, it's running out to me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running out, it's running out to me. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful. Come on, let's hear y'all sing. All my life. Every breath that I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, sing it now. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. Every breath that I am made, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Well, you guys can have a seat. If you come here often, right about now is when a welcome person comes out and welcomes you. Well, you're stuck with me today, all right? Second B team, right? Okay. Well, hey, if you're new to RockPointe Church, I do want to welcome you. My name's Adam. I get to lead worship here with these fine, amazing people. Y'all give it up for everybody up here this morning. When you walked in this morning, they gave you this card, right? It says, Let's Connect. If you'll get that out in your hand right now, I won't twist your arm, but I think that's going to really help you this morning. pull that out. There's a bunch of stuff on there, and I just want to explain real quick what it is. The first thing is, if you're new to our church, if you've been maybe once or twice, or you just don't know a lot about RockPointe, that's the best way that you can get educated, right? Or as we said in East Texas, edumacated, right? So that's the best way. You can fill out the old school way if you got a pen, or you can scan that code. And we're not going to spam you. We're not going to show up at your doorstep. We're just going to want to start a conversation with you. Hey, where did you find out about RockPointe? How can we help you? How can we serve you as a family? If you, my wife and I recently moved back a few years ago, and when we moved to a new town, it was so just impossible to find a church and to show up, and it was so awkward. So that's the best way we can help you get integrated into the church and find out some more about the opportunities to get involved around here and get to know some people. That's a huge thing. Oh, they said, don't forget we have a volunteer video. Okay, I'm going to finish my speech, and then we'll do the volunteer video. I probably screwed everything up. All right. The next thing on there is the donate QR code. If you're new here, once again, we don't want something from you. We want something for you, so don't feel any pressure to give today. But if this is your church family, this is just another opportunity for you to invest in our church and to help move this mission forward of just helping people in any way we can. I don't know if they're trying to make fun of me putting stuff up on the screens. All right, and the next thing is the next steps. Anything on there is just about baptism or anything that you need to take a next step spiritually so that you can keep moving forward in your life. Now, we will talk about that card again at the end of the service. So for now, you guys can just sit back, relax, and watch this video.
Hey, I know there are plenty of you out there who are talented, you are skilled, you have all these amazing things within you. Maybe some of you love to snuggle with babies. Maybe you guys are really good at design and conceive things. Maybe some of you are creative. Here's the thing. There are so many of you we can use your potential, we can use your skill and your talent. And I am here to encourage you. We need help. We need volunteers, especially as we foresee growth for the church. Man, we need some of you people to step up and help us volunteer. But here's the thing. There's a benefit. There's a payoff to volunteering. The first thing is, maybe you're new to the community. Maybe you're new to the city. Maybe you're new to RockPointe, and you would love to meet people. Maybe you would love to connect and build relationships with others. When you volunteer and become a part of a team, guess what? It's fun, and you meet people, and you build these relationships, and you connect while you serve. That's one of the benefits. Another benefit is, here's the thing, it's purposeful. It brings purpose to your life. We are called to serve, and not only are we called to serve, but man, we are called to do something greater than our life. And when we have purpose, we are fulfilling this greater mission, this greater calling that God has for us, that God has for you. So I don't know about you, but I want to challenge you and encourage you. Do you want to meet other people? Do you want to have fun and goof off and connect with others while you serve? Do you want your life to have meaning and purpose and serve a greater purpose? Well, guess what? RockPointe is the place to do that. RockPointe is the place for you, and we would love for you to jump on board and to help and say, I want to serve, I want to volunteer. You can easily do that by scanning the QR code and following those steps. Go to next step and say, I want to volunteer. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I'm gifted at. And we could definitely find a place and a spot for you. So come on down and join us. We would love it.
That the world was gonna end on Tuesday morning, what would everybody do? It's funny how the thought of that can make some things real important, and a lot of things seem pretty worthless too. But I'd be dancing like a fool, I'd be laughing, I'd be crying, calling anybody who ever heard and reconciling. I'd call anyone I love, and when the sky is gonna end. I'd hit all my favorite restaurants. They'd be open for business, but not care what people thought. Yeah. I speak love to everybody who came close enough to listen. And if someone's done me wrong, I call and tell them I forgot. And then I'll be dancing like a fool. I'll be laughing, I'll be crying. I'm with anybody who I ever heard and reconciled. I call everyone I love. They were not scared to say to them. But when I think about it, maybe we should all live like the world is gonna end. All right, here we go. We spend most our lives, almost all our time, on what we don't care about, what we could do without. And the tragedy is that we can't see it. We can't see it until time is running out. But I'd be dancing like a fool. I'd eat ice cream every morning. I'd call everyone I love and drive them out to California. And we'd say the things that we've been scared to death to say to them. Now that I think about it, maybe we should all live like the world is gonna end. Live like the world is gonna end. Come on, live like the world is gonna end. Live like the world is gonna end. Hi, thanks for being here again this morning. You can have a seat and watch the screens.
Well, good morning, everybody. How you doing? There we are. How are you? Hey, everybody online. It's so nice to finally see you. I'm so glad that you've joined us out there. Hey, Liberty Hill, how are you doing? Hey, from Leander, can we let Liberty Hill know we're glad they've joined us right here today? Hey, Liberty Hill, you want to let Leander know you're glad they joined you? I think we heard you. I'm so glad that we're all together today. Welcome, welcome. If you're our guest today, thanks for being here. My name is Shane, and I get the awesome privilege of being the pastor of RockPointe, and I'm glad you're here. You know what else I'm glad about? I don't know if you've been around for the summer, but we've been celebrating the front row for the summer, and look at the front row. Can we give it up for the front row? Well, I don't have anything for you today. All right, that's not true. Absolutely. So summer is ending, and I thought I would save the best until last. And when I say the last, that doesn't mean I don't want you to learn what we've learned over the summer, because what we've learned over summer is that the front row is a different experience. The front row says to everybody else, we're engaged, I'm here. I think it says to our Heavenly Father, I'm coming in and I'm putting myself in a position to really, really learn. And not that you can't learn in the third and the fifth and the back row. Look, you can. I just love what the front row says. It says we're leading the way and we want to hear from God. And so I appreciate everyone over the summer who has made their way forward. It helps as people make their way in who maybe struggle, or maybe it's even a struggle to walk in, or they're running late, or it's just a struggle for them to come into a church, and you are opening an opportunity for them. So thank you for that. So I saved the best to last, because several years ago I told my wife, if you decide to have a funeral for me, and I don't care if you do or not, it's up to you. I don't really care. I'm not going to be there, so you do whatever you want. And I said, but if you decide to have a gathering, there's two things I would request. One is feed everybody, because that's really why they're there anyway, right? And then two, make sure that everybody walks out with a can of WD-40, all right? You don't know this about me, but I'm telling you, I am a WD-40 freak. I think this is like God's gift, right? It fixes so many things. It's amazing. I have this stuff everywhere, and I just thought, what better gift could I leave to the world than that at my funeral, everybody walks out and makes the world a less squeaky place. Because I am that guy that when I hear a squeak, I stop what I'm doing and I go fix the squeak because I can't handle the squeak. And so I just thought, you know what the bad thing about me asking my wife to do that is? I don't get to see that. So I decided today I wanted to see that, right? And so I just want to tell all of you in the front row that I am commissioning you this morning to go out and let's make the world, Darren, here we go. Let's make the world a much less squeaky place. I'll tell you what, why don't you just grab one of those, right, as we go. I'm telling you, there's so much good that comes from this stuff. Tell you what, I love the ingenuity. I love the ingenuity. And you live by me, so I'm good, right? The more you have, the better, right? I love the tenacity. I love all of that. Way to go. So look, man, I went to Africa with our church on a mission trip, and that was the squeakiest place I've ever been before in my life. And when I went back, I took WD-40 and left it there, and I just think I changed the face of missions and changed the face of Africa, and it will never, ever, ever be the same. And so I'm so glad of that. I bet you, right? Second row, you got close, buddy. You got close. You got close, right? Right? You got close. And right here, man, you got close. You were so close, right? All right, you made it. All right, let's give it up for the first and second rows. Man, come on, if you can't have fun in church, we should just close and go home, right? Let's enjoy it. So look, I'm so glad you're here. We are finishing up this series called It's About Time. And what we've done is we've used this, in this whole series, basically we've expanded upon this really simple idea from Psalm 90, where Moses, the great leader, let my people go, kind of Moses guy, prays this prayer in this psalm that he wrote. And here's what he said. He said, teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. And the big idea, if you haven't been around, let me catch you up, is that if we would live our lives as if our days are numbered, because they are, we would make better decisions if we would live that way. And so today, as we finish this, I want to go to a book of the Bible that, if I'm real honest with you, I think you got to be over 50 before you can really appreciate it. In fact, I think you probably shouldn't even read it until you turn 50, or you might just find a cliff to jump off of, right? And I'll explain that in a minute. The book is Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes was written by King Solomon, and King Solomon was uniquely positioned to write this book because he reigned in Israel 3,000 years ago during the golden age of Israel. And here's why that's important. Solomon was brilliant. He was an architect, he was a scientist, he understood wealth, he understood power, he understood leadership, and he came from this great lineage. His father was King David. He had been given, actually by God, an extra sense of understanding, an extra element of knowledge and wisdom. In fact, the Bible tells us that he was the wisest man who had ever lived. People would come from all over the world to ask Solomon really difficult questions and try to get his answer because he was so wise. But he reigned during this golden age, and he built the temple. Maybe you've heard of Solomon's temple. And because there was peace on all the borders, Solomon had the luxury that most kings and leaders never get. He had the luxury to sit and think because he wasn't fighting a war and he wasn't dealing with a border issue. So he decided he was going to sort through all the depths and the understanding of humanity and answer the question once and for all, what is life all about? What is the purpose in life? And he tells us in Ecclesiastes. He tells us that he experimented with everything. He experimented with marriage. He experimented with just sheer pleasure, with wealth, with poverty, with construction, with doing nothing. He experimented with busyness. He looked at the relationship between poor people and wealthy people, between men and women, between fathers and their kids. He looked at inheritance and what happens when money is passed from generation to generation. He explored science and everything he could possibly explore, and experienced everything he could possibly experience. All because he had vast wealth and vast influence, and he could just do anything he wanted to do at any time he wanted to do it. And so what he did is he devoted the latter years of his life to just what is the purpose in life, and what makes sense, and what should a person spend their time on. And then he wrote it all down in this book, and it's been preserved, and 3,000 years later, we have it. It's called Ecclesiastes. And let me tell you, here's the main idea, the thesis, the bottom line. Here's the conclusion about life. He tells us right out of the gate, this is what life is about as he has explored it. And we learned, this is the words of the teacher, a son of David, king in Jerusalem. And then he tells us the meaning. Ready? Here we go. Meaningless. Meaningless, says the teacher, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Maybe we should just close in prayer and go get a brunch, right? I mean, that's it? And everything else in the book of Ecclesiastes goes this way. He says, I've explored everything, I've learned everything, I've seen everything, I've done everything, and my conclusion is meaningless. Everything is utterly meaningless. And if we stop there, I think we might jump off that cliff. But he helps us out a little bit in the next verse where he says, what does anyone gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? And we go, well, I got a car for all my labors. I got a car. And Solomon goes, oh, really? Well, tell me about your car. Well, it's my car. I worked for it. Well, Solomon says, what are you going to do with it? I'm going to drive it. Well, for how long? Well, until it gets old. And then what are you going to do with it? I'm going to trade it. For what? A car. Well, then what are you going to do with that car? I'm going to drive it. And then what? I'm going to trade it. Okay, for what? A car. And Solomon is going, do you see my point? What is the point of that? You're going to trade your car, you're going to trade your house, you're going to trade your phone, you're going to trade your laptop. It's just, what do you really get when you do that? Well, Solomon, we get some stuff. Well, what are you going to do with your stuff? Well, I'm going to use it. And then what? Well, I'm going to leave it. To whom? I don't know. Well, what are they going to do with it? I don't know. And Solomon said, do you see my point? In fact, throughout the entire book of Ecclesiastes, he talks about how you accumulate stuff, and maybe even you accumulate enough that you become wealthy and you're successful, and then your stuff gets left to your kids and they don't use it right. Or it gets left to someone else and you work hard and somebody else benefits. Kind of meaningless, he says. He goes on, and then he really pours on all the happy thoughts and good cheer in this verse. He says, what has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Okay, so it just goes round and round. Do you think you've done something special? No. You're just doing what somebody else did. You're just doing a more modern version of it. And guess what? As cool and as wonderful as what you've done is, somebody's going to come along after you. Someone's coming along, and they're going to do that later, and everybody's going to go, oh, look at the way they're doing it, and they're going to forget what you've done. He says, there is nothing new under the sun. Oh, you've heard that before, right? It was written 3,000 years ago, and it's in the Bible. In fact, he goes on, and he just talks about the futility of life, and honestly, it's just awful. And it's in the Bible. Now, if you're young, you're probably thinking, well, that's depressing. If you're old, you're going, I knew it, I like this guy, he's talking my language, right? This is how I feel. I work hard, and it's just futile. I look in the mirror, and I'm just getting older, and I've worked hard, but for what for? And I'm going to leave all this stuff to my kids, and they don't even appreciate it, and all the old people, blah, 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 blah stuff, and I'm just doing what my dad did. In fact, every time I look in the mirror, I just see my dad looking back at me. Every time I look in the mirror, it's my mom. There she is looking at me, and you're getting old, and you're not as beautiful as you once used to be, and it's just like it's meaningless. And we're like going, how did he know? Well, let me tell you, because it's brilliant. Remember, Solomon was the wisest guy who'd ever lived. And so he leads us down this path of meaninglessness, and as you read these writings, he kind of insults us, his readers, a little bit. He says, look, guys, you're reading this. You think you're smarter than me? Just remember, I'm richer than you've ever dreamed of being. I am more powerful than you will ever be. I have more resources than you can actually even imagine. And if you think somehow you're wiser or you have greater understanding or somehow you're smarter than I am, you go ahead and try to squeeze meaning out of life. I dare you. Try to prove me wrong. Because I know when you're 50 or you're 60 years old, you're going to open up my 3,000-year-old book and you're going to go, dang it, Solomon was right. And I played right into it. Now, there is a trick. Solomon is brilliant. And because he's so brilliant, he has woven a secret key. And if you have the secret key woven into Ecclesiastes, you can unlock the inner meaning of this brilliant, brilliant book. And if you don't understand the secret to Ecclesiastes, again, you just want to go eat some worms and die. How's that for an old person statement? Now, the secret to understanding Ecclesiastes, because Solomon is so brilliant, and he's messing with us. And in the verses we've read, we've already seen it 2 times. It's this little phrase right here, under the sun. In fact, it is mentioned 29 times in this short little book. And we find this phrase, under the sun. And this is his subtle, brilliant way of saying to us, if all there is to life is what we see under the sun, like where we live, if that's it, then there is no meaning. If all there is to life is what we experience where we live here under the sun, what we see, hear, feel, then there's no meaning to that. If all there is to life is what's squeezed between the bookends of our birth and our death, life under the sun, then it's chasing the wind. It's like vanity. It's meaningless. It's just round and round and round you go and end up where everybody else ends up. So he taunts us and he baits us to look beyond the sun. In fact, he says this, and here it is again. He says, I have seen something else under the sun. He says, the race is not to the swift, meaning the fastest doesn't always win first, or get first, or the battle to the strong, right? Nor does food come to the wise, or wealth to the brilliant, or favor to the learned. But time and chance happen to them all. He says, look, here's the reality that you've already experienced. That under the sun, where we live, there is randomness that doesn't make any sense. Under the sun, sometimes the wicked prosper, and the person that does the right thing is punished. Under the sun, where we live, the person that does everything right to get ahead, suddenly the economy turns and the person who has done nothing prospers. And the person who works so hard is somehow penalized. Under the sun, I have seen men and women who were faithful to their spouses get into their 30s, get into their 40s, and suddenly they find themselves alone. And they did everything right. And their wicked old spouse who ran off and did things they shouldn't do seemed to prosper and be happier than anybody else they knew. He said, I've seen sometimes it's just random. It's just time. It's just chance. And if you think you can figure out a box under the sun where everything fits into that box and everything makes sense, he says, you go ahead and try, but you never will, because I've tried it. And he taunts us, and he baits us, and he forces us to ask this question: what if there is something? What if there's a category that is actually beyond, under the sun? Meaning there's got to be more than what we're experiencing in this life, because honestly, so many times this isn't working. Solomon says, I looked at what happened all around the world in different cultures and how the innocent suffer, and I've just concluded there's got to be something more than this, because this doesn't make any sense. And Solomon smiles and says, if that's what you're thinking, now you're beginning to understand, but perhaps there's something beyond life where you live under the sun. And then he begins to hint and lead us to it. And he says, right in the middle of all this meaningless, futility, wicked, prosper stuff, he says, and he's talking about God, has made everything beautiful in its time. He says, in all the meaninglessness that you feel, in all that randomness that you're experiencing, in the things that just don't make any sense, every once in a while we stumble upon something that's just so beautiful. And in that moment we go, oh, look at that. And it makes me think there must be more to this life than this life. We stumble into a relationship, or we see something or hear something, or somebody shows us something that's beautiful that God made, and everything else kind of goes out of focus in those moments, and it's like, wow, look at this. That kind of makes me believe a little bit that there might be something more than just this life, and that maybe life is not just the bookends of my birth and my death. Maybe there's a bigger context than this. And then this next verse is just unbelievable. Solomon says this: he has also set, what's this word right here? Eternity. That God has also set eternity in your heart and in my heart. This is an incredibly powerful statement. Solomon says, you know what? Under the sun where we live, it's meaningless. It's random. But there's something in the human heart, regardless of your religion, regardless of your belief, regardless of your non-belief. There's something inside of you, in your human heart, that longs for there to be something beyond this life. And that's not a religious thing, that's not a theological category, it's actually a part of our human heart. It's why in every single civilization, in every single culture, in every nation, the majority of the people have always looked beyond life under the sun and wondered and hoped that there was something better. Look, that's not religious. That's human. It's why every 15 or 20 years, a group of writers will come along and they'll write books about why we shouldn't believe in God and why there's not a God and how scientists don't need there to be a God for there to be an earth. In fact, next week, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And what happens, they come along and they sell a whole bunch of books, and it's so funny because this happens over and over and over. It's like, oh, look, everybody look, there is no God. We don't need God. And then after about 15 minutes, it's like they put them down and put them away, and they keep believing there is something beyond this life. You know why? Because this isn't science. This isn't theology. It's in your heart to know and to believe there's something other than what you're experiencing under the sun. And Solomon says, aha, now you understand the conflict. Now you'll quit trying to find purpose within this life only because God has put eternity in your heart. You can reason that away, and let me tell you, it won't go away. You can have a bad church experience, and that's not going to go away. You can decide you're mad at God, that's not going away. You can burn your Bible, that's not going away. You can be mad at all the Christians, it's not going away. You can talk about how bad religion has been for society and all the wars and horrible things that have started because of religion. And at the end of the day, when you're all alone, it's not going to go away because it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with what's already in your heart. You just can't help but think about, what if there's something beyond under the sun? That's in your heart, and it's not going away. Now, look at this next part. This is amazing. Yet no one can fathom, not you, not me, not any of us can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. It's like, wait, Solomon, now you're confusing me. So what you're saying is, okay, life under the sun is sometimes random, got it, sometimes meaningless, might even agree with that, and I can't make it work, and yet you're saying in the middle of all that, God has done something, and Solomon's going, oh yeah, God's been very busy. God is doing something. God is everlasting to everlasting. God has a plan, and you're up in the middle of that. Life under the sun is round and round and round, and everything is the same, and nothing is new. But out from underneath all of that, God is doing something, and the human in humanity cannot fathom what God is doing. In our hearts, we go, oh, I knew it. I hope so. I know there has to be more than this life. And then he concludes the book with this, 2 final verses. Here's the conclusion. He says, now all of this has been heard. I've told you everything I know about life and how meaningless it is. But let me tell you the conclusion of the matter. Fear God, respect God, look up to God, and keep his commandments. For this is the duty of every human being. Fear God and keep his commands. But God, I was like fearing you and keeping your commands, and things went really badly for me. Fear God and keep his commandments. Okay, but look, I was doing that and she wasn't, and now she's got all my money and she's happier now than I am, and I don't have a place to live. God's going, I get it. Just respect me and keep my commands. But God, that's not working for me. And God's like, I know. Fear me, respect me, honor me, and do what I ask you to do. But that doesn't make any sense at all. It's never going to make any sense under the sun. But God says, I'm doing something. So just fear me, follow me, and keep my commandments. That, Solomon says, is the mystery of life and how it fits together. The randomness, come on, don't let that surprise you here under the sun. There is more to this life than under the sun. And you know that because you have eternity imprinted on your heart. Now, with all of that in mind, I want to close this series by saying something to 4 groups of people who are listening today. First, I want to say something to all the middle school, high school, and college students. You're getting ready to go back to school this week and in the next couple of weeks in college, and I want to just give you some advice. My advice for you is this: every single morning and every single evening, pray, God, show me your will for my life. Where do I fit in everlasting to everlasting? You say, well, why would I do that, Shane? Listen, you've got a chance to do this right the first time. I don't anymore. You get to leverage the first few years right the first time. You get to live life unconfused and refusing to be confused by randomness that happens in life and the way that things should go. Because you have the opportunity as a 20-year-old, as a 16-year-old to wake up every day and say, God, I really want to know what your will is for my life. What is your plan in this everlasting for everlasting? Because I want to do it. I want to keep your commands when it works out for me and when it doesn't work out for me. Because I'm not going to spend the rest of my life trying to make all of life make sense. I want to spend my life between my birth and my death in such a way, God, that it honors you. And I'm just telling you, listen to me. Those of you who are middle school, high school, and college, I'm telling you there are people listening right now in their 50s and 60s who would love, love, love to go back and do this over, and you get a chance to do it right. So now you know. Next, if you're single, maybe you're out of college, do not embrace the myth that if you can just find the right person, everything will be right in your world. That is chasing the wind. If you spend your single years focused on finding the right person, you're wasting some of the best years of your life. Solomon says you're chasing the wind. Look, your greatest opportunity with the time that you have as a single person is to find something with purpose. Pour your time into something that has a purpose bigger than you, that goes beyond this life. Don't devote all your time to finding a person that will completely fulfill you. It doesn't happen. Pour your extra time into something that has purpose beyond the bookends of your life. You get a chance to do this part of your life right, because there's more to life than what's under the sun. Here's the third category, is if you're married. Solomon encourages us in our married years, love and cherish and enjoy your husband, your wife, and children of your youth. Parents, listen to me. Parents especially. Do not, dads, listen. Do not trade in the integrity of your relationship with your children for a job that someone else is going to one day have. Don't trade in the relationship you have with your kids for a car that someone else is going to drive, for a house that someone else is going to live in, for a vacation that somebody else would be able to take. Because you'll get to a stage in life and you will look back and you will wish you could go back and trade all of that opportunity to invest in something that outlives you and impacts the next generation in your house. Moms and dads, it's your one shot. Don't screw that up chasing the wind. There are men and women who are listening to this message right now that would trade all their stuff and all their experiences for a relationship with their son and daughter. But it's gone because they traded it chasing the wind, trying to find meaning for themselves, and have discovered now it can't be done. Fourth category, those of you who are empty nesters. Like the kids are out, it's you. You already knew all of this stuff I've been saying, didn't you? You're the ones who took no notes today. It's like, yep, I knew, Shane. So let me say something to you. Don't you run off to some retirement thing. Don't disappear to the lake. Don't disappear to the golf course. We need you. You are the only group among us that can bring real life experience to everything we've said today. You are the punctuation mark. You are the living illustration of how quickly life goes by and how valuable relationships are and how silly it is to chase things that somebody else is going to own or wear or live in or drive someday. Look, in our generation, the 25, 30-year-olds, the 40-year-olds need your input. And without it, more than likely, they're just going to chase the wind like everyone else. we need you. And you say, well, nobody's going to listen to me. My kids won't even listen to me. Okay, maybe not. But there are some other kids that will. You've spent the majority of your life gaining knowledge and insight and the wisdom that our generation needs. You say, but Shane, I've made so many mistakes. Okay, well, at least serve as a bad example to the rest of us. I mean, come on. Everybody has a purpose. Yours could just be to be an example of what not to do. Now, you think I'm kidding, right? But I'm going to give you an email address in a minute. And I want you to take a picture of it. I want you to write it down. I want you to commit it to memory if you're an empty nester. And we need you. I need you to email this address and say, Shane told me to email and tell you I'm available to help. Can I tell you where we need your help? We need you to be our small group leaders. We need you to be our small group host. Just to talk about your life experience, even if it's, hey, here's 8 things to never do. We have couples in our church, we have groups in our church that don't have that kind of relationship with their own parents and would love the wisdom of your years. They will think you're experts. They're dumb newlyweds. We all were. They don't know. They're still in love. They're still ooey and gooey. And what we want to do is we want to put some veterans to life in a group. You fought the wars. You raised the kids. You've been there. You've done this. And no, you didn't get it all right. But we want you in those groups. We want to leverage your lifetime for the sake of the future generation. And let me just tell you, those of you in that category, this may be your best opportunity to do something outside of the boundaries of life under the sun. Because if all there is under the sun, then just go play golf. If all there is under the sun, just go on to the retirement community with a bunch of old people and play bridge and shuffleboard in stupid-looking shorts. But I'm telling you, and Solomon is telling you, eternity is in your heart, and you know better. So don't do that. Leverage your lifetime for the sake of a generation that needs to know what you've learned and what you've seen. Here's the email address, groups@rockpointechurch.com. Write it down. If you're in that category, write it down. We need you. Your life matters. You've got something we don't have, and we need it. Groups@rockpointechurch.com. So here's the conclusion from Psalm chapter 90. Moses prayed to God, God, Heavenly Father, teach us to number our days. Help us to see our days like you see them. Why? So that we may gain a heart of wisdom and live as if our days are numbered by God, who has given us purpose beyond what we can see, and so that we can gain a heart of wisdom like Solomon and leverage that wisdom for a purpose that goes beyond simply what you can see. God, who, as Solomon said, is up to something that is beyond our comprehension. And we know that he is, because eternity is in your heart. Live as if your days are numbered by a heavenly Father who has invited you into the story of everlasting to everlasting, a much bigger story than yours or mine will ever be. Today, I want to lead you in our final prayer of this series. So would you stand with me right where you are? And the prayer says this: Heavenly Father, I want to know your will for my life. But until I'm sure of what it is, I don't want to waste this day. So today, I will step out and do something for someone that has purpose beyond me. Teach me to number my days, that I may gain a heart of wisdom. I want to invite you to pray that prayer from your heart today. Let's believe that God has something up for you and for me in a big way. So if you'll put that back on there for us, we'll pray it together. Would you join me? Heavenly Father, I want to know your will for my life. But until I'm sure of what that is, I don't want to waste this day. Today, I will step out and do something for someone that has purpose beyond me. Teach me to number my days that I may gain a heart of wisdom. Stay standing. That's our prayer this week. I hope you'll take it with you all week long. Our going out today is simply this. One of the best things we get to do is celebrate with people who have decided to follow Jesus. So tonight at 5 o'clock, out in between Leander and Liberty Hill at the Blue Hole, we invite you. Look for the signs, look for the flags. We invite you to join us and celebrate. And if you don't have someone being baptized, that's okay. Come celebrate with us. Come cheer them on. And then let me just tell you, if you've decided to follow Jesus and you haven't stepped across that line, which is the first step that Jesus asked us to take once we decide to follow him, to be baptized, we would love to be a part of that. Catch me, catch one of our staff, jump online, register, let us know, shoot us a message. We would love to be a part of helping you move forward spiritually in your life. Teach us to number our days so that we can have a heart of wisdom. Have a great day. We'll see you next weekend.
Gave him poison just for fun. I had one friend, now there's none. I made the devil run. I broke so many bones, but none of them were ever my own. They were an army, I was alone. I broke so many bones. I'm bad as bad can be, so bad that it's hard to believe. Oh, what they say about me. I'm bad, take a look and see. So bad that it's hard to believe. I don't care what they say about me. I watched an empire fall. Stormed the gate and scared the walls. They wouldn't share, so I took it all. I watched an empire fall. I'm bad as bad can be, so bad that it's hard to believe. Oh, what they say about me. I'm bad. Look and see, so bad that it's hard to believe. I don't care what they say about me. Stop it. I'm bad as bad could be. Bad, I'm bad as bad could be. I'm bad as bad could be. Bad as bad can be, so bad that it's hard to believe. Oh, what they say about me. I'm bad, take a look and see. So bad that it's hard to believe. I don't care what they say about me. I'm bad as bad can be. Oh, so bad. I'm bad as bad can be.
feeling good.